As you probably noticed, when DJI released the brand new Ronin 4D, a lot of videos and reviews came out on YouTube. Some of them were cool, some were worse, but it's definitely worth seeing some of these videos. In my opinion, everything you need to know about this amazing piece of equipment you will find in the video made by Philip Bloom and also by Caleb from DSLR Video Shooter. Caleb in his video talked in great detail and basically covered every aspect so well that this video, in my opinion, should be the official Ronin 4D tutorial. This is a must-see video and I really don't need to tell you all this over and over again, so I'd like to show you this camera from a slightly different, more technical perspective. When I saw the Ronin 4D for the first time, I wondered how many amazing possibilities this equipment can offer, because in fact this camera is a whole new level. I mean, not only the amazing stabilization, but also many other new features. There's also one thing that even made me worry in some ways, because I don't see a lot of modification possibilities here. This is basically a complete, combined, fully integrated camera set. And here of course comes the question, do we actually need it? So in my opinion, if you are a filmmaker, no matter if you are part of a small crew or a one-man band, and if you ever work on a project where for some reasons you had to give up on the idea of a cool shot because, for example, there was no budget for extra equipment, or there wasn't time to create the perfect set, or you didn't have a crew and maybe the hard part was carrying equipment to a difficult location, then this camera, or more likely this tool, is definitely for you. I say that because with the Ronin 4D and some new powerful technologies like the LiDAR sensor and crazy range external monitor, you can now take shots totally alone or with just a two-person team that normally required an entire crew. This allows you to replace basically any type of camera equipment. As I mentioned, this is an absolutely complete and extremely well-designed piece of equipment, but I just feel that I would not be myself if I do not modify something. The first one is top handle. And just to be clear, the original handle is absolutely fine. It is super comfortable, it has a monitor holder and small joystick which you can use to control the tilt, but in my opinion the additional mounting point should be placed in the front instead of the back, because exactly there is the center of gravity of the whole camera. And I need this because there are few situations where I wanted to mount the Ronin to things like car, bike, cable cam, but I wanted to do it in a vertical position to take full benefit of its amazing stabilization. Of course, if you want, you can easily mount the Ronin upside down using the bottom mount and you will still have all its features except a spring arm, because it does not work in this position. For this I used a small rig top handle and some NATO rails. This gives me a lot of mounting options and adjustment of the center of gravity, which is in the front, but keep in mind that the exact spot depends on what kind of lens you have and also if you are using third axis stabilization. Talking about lenses, I found a lot of negative comments about the limitation of lenses. In fact, there were some suggestions that the list of compatible lenses made by DJI is very short. Do I agree with it? In theory, yes. In practice, absolutely not, because in my opinion, the list includes only those lenses which do not require adapters or special modifications. You can find their lenses from DJI, Sony, Siri, Tamron, Leica, and these are really great lenses, but absolutely not the only one you can use. For example, there was not a single one of my favorite EF mount lenses on the list, but I was already able to use all of them. Even my beloved picture zooms. All I need was the cheapest Sony to EF mount adapter and a small and easy modification. The only thing I had to do was to remove the small button on the original Ronin Sony E-mount, because otherwise the adapter cannot be properly installed. I still need to do some more tests on this combination, but so far it looks great. Also, I'm not sure if this will work with all EF lenses, especially with autofocus ones, because all my lenses are manual. But remember that using the new LiDAR system and focus motor, you can turn almost any manual lens into an autofocus one. Of course, with a picture zoom I cannot use a gimbal because they are too big for it, but with a solid front mount I have a pretty cool handheld camera, and also what's really cool, I can use them with LiDAR Focus. And I'm sure that in the future some third-party company will design some kind of professional adapter that will allow you to use big lenses exactly in such a way. So I think that the limitations are obviously there, mainly because of size and weight, but you have to realize that if you want to use a large and heavy lens in a camera of this type, the construction and design would have to change completely. A bigger and more powerful gimbal will be necessary, the stabilization of the fourth axis would have to be stronger and perhaps bigger, and the whole center of gravity of the camera would have to be redesigned, so basically the entire camera would have to be much larger. That's why I think DJI knows what they are doing, and it's a kind of necessary compromise. Besides, look at this from the other side. You get a camera with full frame sensor, but you can also use Super 35. You have 3 mounting options, you have a lot of compatible lenses at the moment, and the list of new ones, as you can see, is still growing. And to be honest, with Ronin 4D, after only a few days of testing, I can use all the lenses I have, which is even more than I can use with my Pocket 6K Pro right now. So I think that, like in everything in the world, it is impossible to make everyone satisfied. For some people these limits will always be a problem, and others won't even feel it. However, there are few things that I'm sure no one can really complain about. The most powerful feature in the new Ronin 4D is of course the 4-axis stabilization, but we can't forget about the other things that makes it so damn good. For instance, to build a similar kit from single components you need camera, gimbal, Steadicam, monitor, wireless transmitter, follow focus, and a bunch of battery. Having all these things in such a compact package is something absolutely incredible, and for me the most valuable thing is not only the huge difference in size, but more importantly, I can save a lot of time with this camera because I don't have to make any special setup. I just grab it straight out of my backpack and I'm ready to shoot. When it comes to overall stabilization performance, I have never seen anything so great. It doesn't really matter if you are trying to walk like a ninja or not. Visible footsteps, you can totally forget about it. This is a whole new level of stabilization. The first of 2 greatest problems with gimbals has just been solved. The second is of course the weight. Ronin 4D, depending on the lens you use and the additional models, weighs between 5 and 6 kilograms. This is not very heavy when it comes to a professional camera, but for some users and in some situations it can be a problem. So I also decided to check what kind of support system will be the best here. Definitely one of the easiest solutions here will be EasyRig and ReadyRig style support, as well as my DIY vest, in which you can also use a single arm configuration. I saw that Tilta has already designed this kind of support system. Another great option would definitely be the Lying Falcon, which is basically designed for handheld camera, but I've noticed it works pretty great here. I will talk a little bit more about it in the next episode because it has a lot of cool features. However, all these support systems are quite big, so if you care about small size, you should definitely consider Tilta Float because it is very compact, super easy to use, and what's cool, you can use it in 2 ways. In the first option, you just need a small tripod head, which will be an adapter to attach the camera. Which is great here, you don't have to balance anything because the spring arm has only one job, to take the weight from your arms. This kind of support is perfect for documentary style because it is very compact, elegant and very discreet. Unfortunately, I have to improve this setup because when I move fast, my hips generate a lot of side-to-side movement. That is why you should see how it would work in traditional Steadicam style. You may think, why should I put a camera which already has a 4th axis stabilization on a Steadicam, but you just need to see it. This is a whole new level of stabilization, and I didn't expect that any equipment could actually achieve such stabilization result. You can walk, run, even jump. This is truly unbelievable. In my opinion, it is the best option for long shots on a professional set because you don't get tired at all, and the range of movements and also the extra stabilization means that I can work with longer focal length lenses without any post-stabilization. Absolutely brilliant. The most important and perhaps the only downside of this configuration is for sure that it is difficult to operate the focus knob. So if you decide to use this kind of support, you will need a focus puller or LiDAR focus system. For a focus assistant, a super bright high quality monitor with no visible latency and new focus histogram is a perfect tool for that job, and if you are a one-man band, then LiDAR focus will be your best friend. The new LiDAR is another version of the focus assistant that we already know from RS2, and as you can see in my previous videos, I use it in most of my shots. Sometimes it required a few more takes or some small modifications because the 3D focus works in a quite narrow tight range, while the new LiDAR is much more advanced because you can track an object or a person who moves in the frame. This is a really fantastic feature for solo shooters, and honestly, LiDAR actually performs sometimes even better than the best focus puller because you can take pull in and pull out shots and you can be absolutely sure that it will always be in focus. So, if it is great for slow shots, let's see how it performs for fast shots. Absolutely all professional car mount systems are designed to separate the camera from any vibration and bumps on the road. Shock absorber and spring arm are the essential components of their design and performance. So, if the Ronin 4D already has a spring arm, the shock absorber is basically all we need. It works really great. The shots are super stable, but it also depends on the type of road and speed. Keep in mind that at the high speeds, even small bumps generate a huge stress. That is why I would like to show you here how double stabilization works. This will definitely give you a better result and a higher safety factor. I used a Tilta Alien mounting base because it has great mounting possibilities, but I replaced the spring arm. The one I'm using here is called Hulk and it was made by Digital Photo. I really wanted to check it out because besides the same great features that Tilta has, it was designed with a rotating head which absorbs side movements and it's especially useful during fast turns. For this setup I'm also using my modified top handle because I wanted to mount the camera in a position that allows for axis stabilization to work. How does it perform? Let's check it out. When it comes to control, it's hard to imagine what else could be improved here. From the monitor, you can change absolutely everything. ND filters, aperture value, start-stop recording, focus and many other things. I must also mention that the incredible image quality and almost zero latency makes this shooting a pure pleasure. The only thing I don't like is the joystick on the left side, because I'm right-handed and I seem to have a slightly better finger sensitivity in my right hand, so I need some time to play with it, but after a few takes it wasn't so bad. Of course, in the joystick settings you have a whole bunch of options that you can change to make your movements as cinematic as possible. And at this point I have to tell you how much time I am able to save thanks to the fact that the Ronin is such a fully integrated tool. For example, I remember how difficult it is when you have a different battery for the gimbal, another for the camera and maybe even another for the video transmitter. And instead of thinking about the shots, I had to worry about all the batteries and even take a break every half an hour to change the battery or end the filter. But now basically I just turn the Ronin on and I have 2.5 hours of shooting without having to make a single break, which is absolutely fantastic, and I can finally be absolutely focused just on the shot. It's really awesome and makes things so much easier. Guys, please remember that the Steadicam mode, camera dolly and a car mount are just a few examples of use, and hopefully in the future episodes I will be able to show you the full potential of this amazing camera. However, my conclusion after the first few days is that it is equipment absolutely from the future, and at the same time so easy to use and with so many new features that for some users it opens a totally new perspective. I said it before that I love companies like DJI, Blackmagic, Tilta and many others for giving us more and more ways to create content that can be visually competitive with super high budget productions. And now, just when you think it is not possible to make things easier, the Ronin 4D is born. It has everything you need to create brilliant content. So the question is, who is this camera for and if it is worth buying? About the price, Ronin 4D 6K with all the basic components is between $7,000 and $8,000. It is not so cheap, but if you compare it to a setup with similar functionality, you will realize that it's not expensive at all. So I will say that if you already have a setup with such powerful features as the Ronin 4D and you are happy with it and it is easy for you to modify this setup depending on the type of shot, then great, because you can always just upgrade the camera or gimbal for a different model. But even then you should carefully analyze the time to passability ratio, just in case, so that you don't have to become a victim of your own modifications. Let me give you an example. In the case of my existing setup, I think that I have improved and modified everything to perfection, but I still need more than 15 minutes to get everything out of the car, put it all together and make the right balance. That's not bad, but now imagine that after a few shots I want to move to a different location. So now I need another few minutes to pack it up and another 15 minutes to put it all back together again. And the time multiplies again and again and again. And I know from my own experience that sometimes that specific amount of time can be a really important moment on set. Another situation, just imagine how many locations or weather conditions there are in which it would be very difficult to even transport everything to the shooting location. That's why a lot of solo shooters, smaller productions and low-budget documentary projects limit themselves to a minimum amount of equipment, which is just a camera or maybe a small gimbal. The reasons are sometimes economic and sometimes very practical, which means that there is basically no one to take care of it. And that's what, in my opinion, makes the new Ronin such a unique and amazing tool, because it has so many powerful benefits and features for which you basically don't need to spend much time or have any sort of special skills, and you can put all your energy into the story you're working on. And I don't know for sure, but there are many signs that the future of filmmaking is how far, how fast and how light you can go. So I am absolutely sure that the Ronin 4D is made for that future. Guys, hope this was helpful for you. As always, thanks for so many nice comments and messages, and see you in the next video.